There are a number of times throughout Paul's letter and throughout the Acts of the Apostles when the Jewish leadership is confronted by Christian converts. And so sometimes it gives the impression that Christians somehow disliked the Jewish people, that they didn't care for them. In some cases that was true, but it's not necessarily true of Paul. Paul, while he is known as the apostle to the Gentiles, always took the opportunity to preach to the Jewish community as well. They were just not inclined to listen. Not all, some did, and some embraced what he had to say. And that's the framework of this section of Romans today. You know, sometimes we hear about this conflict between Catholic and Protestant over faith alone saves, and you know how important meritorious work is. You know, one is a Protestant position, one is a Catholic position. That's kind of a generalization about the way that plays out. And quite honestly, it's much more complex than that. But what we see in this passage from Romans is Paul talking about how it is that faith does save. He's not condemning Jews. As a matter of fact, he sees them as having an opportunity to embrace what they hear about Christ. And he goes through this whole thing is, how can they embrace Christ if they don't hear about him? How can they believe if they don't know about him? How is that possible? And so he talks about how important it is to hear the word of Jesus Christ so that people can come to believe. But in that coming to believe, there are actions associated with that. Somebody has to do the preaching. Somebody has to hear the word, embrace the word, make it part of their lives, and take that message to others. And that message is taken to others in two ways: verbally, but through our actions as well. And that's what Paul is trying to say here. He's not trying to condemn anyone. He wants there to be plenty of opportunities for people to hear the word, see the word in action, and embrace the word. The gospel passage is it's one version of the call of Peter and Andrew and James and John. One version. John differs on how they were called. But this version of the call of Andrew fits Matthew's gospel well, and it fits Advent well, quite honestly. So we once again need to remember that Matthew's community of Christians were converted from Judaism. And in that conversion process, they were expelled from the synagogues. And they were isolated from their former worship companions, their former worship communities. And they took that very hard. And so this is one of those moments that Matthew can point to say, look, here are people who heard the call of Jesus Christ, and they responded to it. And basically what he's saying through the story is, we were not rejected by the Jews for just no good reason. We embraced Jesus Christ And the consequence of embracing Jesus Christ meant that we had to leave these things, other things behind, which is exactly what happens to Andrew. He and Peter and James and John leave what they are doing immediately to follow Jesus. And so a message from Matthew here is not so unusual to let go of all these other things to follow Jesus. See, the apostles did it. And so we are being apostle-like in embracing the message of Jesus Christ, in leaving all these other things. Whether we had the option or not doesn't make any difference. We would have wound up leaving it behind anyway to embrace the message and live the message of Jesus Christ. Now, I say it's an appropriate gospel for the beginning of Advent because that's precisely what we're supposed to reflect on during Advent. What are some of the things we need to put in order in our life to continue to embrace Jesus? You know, do we have to give up our families, our homes, and all that kind of stuff? No. But we are called to be a little more reflective about how we embrace the teachings of Jesus Christ and how we apply them in our lives. It is a good Advent practice to reflect on who we are and how we are in relation to the message of Jesus Christ. And where we need renewal, we need to embrace renewal. Some things, because of our reflection and because of that renewal, may change in our lives. We may recognize something that we need to walk away from in order to embrace what we know is good.